Hey, good Thursday morning to you. Hey, we had a couple of good walleye reports from rivers this week. We're going to talk about the St. Clair River, we're going to talk about the Detroit River, and with this blast of cold weather we had last week, it's already starting up in the rivers. Hey, stay tuned, you're here on Fisherman's Digest. So, first report of the day, the St. Clair River. Now, the St. Clair River is kind of a fun river because my buddy Derek Nykamp, Scott Matei, those guides from over in the western Michigan area love to head over to that river for one reason and one reason only. The scenery is fantastic on the St. Clair River, and the bite seems to be real consistent for a river fishery early, and we're just early. A lot of people don't understand that the St. Clair and the Detroit River, they all plan to go there in March and April, and I get it. It's phenomenal fishing, but you know what? These guides would tell you that the minute fall hits, these fish come back into the rivers in pretty good numbers and set up in the rivers, and they're very catchable. So Derek from Freedom Charters took his double boat charter out. He had another charter, two guys got together and took a bunch of guys out and had a great time. They caught 21 legal walleye. Derek tells me he was trolling, for those you guys wanting to know exactly how he was doing it, trolling downstream. Now that's the ticket until the fish get in heavier numbers. Trolling with bottom bouncers and spinners. Derek was using the Walleye Nation Creation double hook spinner rig, and also a mix of also a slow death can be really good. Walleye Nation makes a little spinny, just a styrofoam spinny in front of a slow death rig as well. That styrofoam thing keeps that up in the current, keeps you out of the bottom. That works good. The key is to go just slightly faster than the current, like maybe 1 mile an hour faster than the current, just enough to get that blade spinning. So you're going to use a heavy bouncer. You're going to be down there with a 3 or a 4 ounce bouncer. There's no question about it. You don't want a lot of line out. You want to be pegged right down as tight as you can get, but only going 1 mile an hour faster. Don't be ripping. So you're almost hanging it over the side of the boat and kind of watching until you get a good consistent thump on your blade, and that's your speed. Then you can look at your speed over ground and realize what range you got to be in, you know, because that'll help you with the current too. But guys are catching lots of fish. He was in 35 to 40 feet of water, and that's going to stay consistent with our next report, because I have a Detroit River report coming to you with the same general depth. But spinners downstream in the St. Clair River catching a really nice grade of some really good legal walleyes. It started, guys. The cold weather's coming, which means the fish are headed back to the rivers. Get on out there up into the St. Clair River and have yourself a good time. If you're looking for a great charter, give Derek Nykamp from Freedom Charters a call. Give also Eric Long from Long Lines Charters, who fishes both the Lake St. Clair and the St. Clair River. And I know Nick Dode from Real Live Action Sport Fishing is also going to be doing fall charters over there in not Lake St. Clair, but on the St. Clair River. Those three guys are great captains. They'll get you on the fish.
Don't spend another season breaking your back using 5-gallon gas cans to fuel your toys. The FlowFast Portable Fluid Transfer System is your solution. A great tool for fueling your ATVs, snowmobile, boat, garden tractor, and more, FlowFast eliminates gas sloshing on you and your machines, plus works in reverse to pull unused fuel from your equipment at the end of each season. The pump transfers from container to container in seconds and moves up to 8 gallons a minute. Log on to flowfast.com for a dealer near you.
So hey, my buddy Rick Malachuk from the Detroit area fishing the Detroit River sent me a really good report, just a small boat report, so that's kind of encouraging. And he was fishing vertical jig in the Detroit River, checking out to see if the fish were in there heavy enough to catch, and guess what, guys? They are. He was using stuff like Wyandotte worms, cut off, plastic worms of some sort cut off. So he's taking a 4 or 5 inch worm and he's biting it down to be a 3-inch worm so that the stinger's right close to the back. And then he's putting a half a crawler on as well. So he's tipping it with a crawler and bulking it with a piece of the better part of 2/3 of a plastic worm. Wonder Bread was working good for him. Also, just a yellowish orangish color seemed to be working really good. And it wasn't so much the brand name of, I'm a Wyandotte worm guy or a Motor City minnow guy, but he said it wasn't so much the brand or even the color as much as it was the presentation. And that presentation was a very slow, methodical lift and fall. Nothing erratic, no fast movements, no hard drop to hit the bottom, just a real slow lift and down. And he said with that crawler on there, those fish would hang. You would feel just the weight, whether it was the up or the down and then coming back up. He said you'd just feel the real obvious weight and a little bit of movement, you know, like a walleye versus a snag. And he says, and then it was just a straight lift, and he'd have them, whether it was on the stinger or the main hook. But he said the presentation of mixing that cut off worm with a half a crawler and a slow presentation was working great. Now, similar to my report up in Lake St. Clair, he was catching those fish in dead nuts 35 feet of water. So that's very consistent to where the fish were also holding up on St. Clair River. So whether Derek was trolling downstream in 35 or Rick is jigging in 35 here in the Detroit River, he was having great success. Now, he said the salt docks produced several fish for him, and then just a couple of more of his regular traditional structure spots that he hits in the spring. So basically, if you're a spring Detroit River fisherman, you can probably start integrating those same spots that seem to hold fish and start to look for a pretty good bite to happen. We're gonna be cold nights. I looked ahead. We're gonna be cold nights for weeks now. I don't think it's gonna get warm again. Maybe next weekend to 70 degrees would be it. But so with 40s and 50s at night, you're gonna see a steep cool down of this water temperature. And with that, you're gonna see an influx of really good eater-sized fish into the Detroit River. So keep that in mind. Fall in the Detroit River is a totally overlooked thing. Hey, stay tuned for tomorrow. We've got a great teaser for a really good show, and we've got one last little fishing ditty for you. So we'll see you tomorrow morning, Friday morning, and talk to you just about the television show and also some new time slots. Guys, you've got to be aware, new time slots are coming for the TV show, and some of you might have missed last week's show because you didn't know what time slot it was on. I've got that information for you here for tomorrow.